Okay. Hey, Angela. It's another fun day over here at Ye Old Podcast.
It is. And boy, do we have some fun conversation
If
today.
I was a professional and knew what in the Sam heck I was doing, I would somehow cue some Cool in the Gang celebration, celebrate good times. Come on. That is what we would do right now because this is awesome.
It's so good.
I'm so excited. Okay. So we're going to jump right on in, guys. We are going to save this so that people can watch if they don't want to listen, because I think this is one that you might want to watch. This is so much fun. Okay. If you do not know who this fabulous gal is that's joining us today, I need you to just go right ahead and you're going to look up your Instagram and you are going to search for the Big Mama, the Melanie Shankle. Who are you on Instagram? I don't even know.
Melanie Shankle. I'm Melanie
dang it
Shankle.
all.
Yeah,
Dang
I
it
know.
all.
I'm Melanie Shankle on Instagram. Yeah, because
Okay.
Instagram kind of came after the book. So that was why.
Oh.
Yeah. So then everybody was like, your real name has to be out there.
Yeah, your real name. Well, we
Yeah.
know you and love you as Big Mama, and you, Melanie, also. We're just so thankful for you and your best buddy, Sophie Hudson, who we had on this show back in October, and y'all have a podcast, the Big Boo Cast. Love it. Mandatory listening. Must subscribe and listen to that every single week. I know that I do. But here is what I want people to know. This is what I just came to mind as I was thinking about who is Melanie Shankle. And Melanie, kind of like Sophie, way back in the day when the interweb was teeny tiny small. Remember that? It was teeny tiny small. And we like followed and read each other's blogs, and it was just a nice little community there.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say we can thank our beloved Bible teacher, Beth Moore, for kind of bringing this together for us. This nice little sweet community. And so I feel like I've known you for a long time, but really I don't know you at all. So that's kind of bizarre. But anyway, here we are. Okay. So I could probably come up with 20 reasons why I love you and what I think about you and what comes to mind after all these years of reading your blog, of listening to the podcast, listening to you talk about your husband, Perry, and literally watch Caroline grow up, which is still shocking to me.
Yeah, me too.
I mean,
Me too.
what in the world? Time flies. Okay. So this is what I can tell our listeners about Melanie if they do not know who Big Mama is. She is a Texas gal. And I honestly think some of us secretly want to be Texas gals. Probably a lot like Texans want to be Tennesseans. The whole world is moving to Middle Tennessee. She's a New York Times best-selling author. Hello. One of my favorite books, I think may have been the first book that you ever wrote, was Sparkling Green Earrings. Loved it. My next book that I want to read on the list is Church of the Small Things. She has a blog. Yes, a blog. It's called the Big Mama Blog. Tell us, for anyone that doesn't know, why Big Mama?
Big Mama, because when I started the blog in July of 2006, Caroline was about to turn 3. And I was always telling her what a big girl she was because we were trying to potty train and get rid of her pacifier that we were supposed to have gotten rid of a long time ago and all of those things. And so big to her was this, really important thing. And so she started calling me Big Mama. And so I started the blog. I called it Big Mama. I never would have called it Big Mama had I known that it was going to be a thing that followed me even all these years later, but here we are.
Oh, it's just so precious, so precious. Here's the funny thing too. When I Googled, if you Google, just type in Google, Big Mama, there's an all-female vocal group named Big Mama.
Oh, I had no idea.
So there's your fun fact. And there's lots of YouTube videos.
Yeah.
if you want to go watch the Big Mama group sing their songs.
Okay.
Okay. So you're married to Perry. You have that sweet, precious baby girl that's not a baby anymore, Caroline, who is now at the fabulous Texas A&M. We're, of course, going to talk about that.
Yes, she is.
I really honestly think you could also have your own ESPN radio talk show. I think you could have a TV show in the studio with the people, because I don't know another female on this planet that can analyze and talk sports, especially Aggie football, like you. I've also learned that you are a 9 on the Enneagram.
Yes, I am. Yes,
And I don't.
Hard 9.
You
A hard 9.
And then I think in one of y'all's Patreon episodes, you talked about how you get uncomfortable when people talk about you and do these kind of introductions that I'm doing right now.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm so sorry. But I need people to know these things about you. And then last but not least, clearly you love the Lord, and I love that. Clearly you do, but you just somehow bring all these components of family and faith and football and fashion. I mean, there's your F's right there.
Yeah, there you go.
And you just throw it all together so beautifully. And I have come to love and appreciate the older I get, and just so anxious. What is our Fashion Friday, and what are our top 5 fashion finds? And so, honey, get ready. We're going to talk about it all today.
I can't wait.
I can't either.
I'm ready.
Okay. You wrote a book. I don't even know in the list of your books, which one this was, but we're going to spend some time today talking about Nobody's Cuter Than You. So tell us, I'm just curious, because if I read it, I forgot it, but why did you write this book? And was this the book that you were supposed to write something else, and then you ended up writing this? Give us a little context of Nobody's Cuter Than You. And then also, welcome to the show, Melanie Shankle.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Nobody's Cuter Than You was book number 3 for me.
Okay.
And I had written Sparkly Green Earrings, which was about Caroline and motherhood, was my first book. And then Antelope in the Living Room, which was about marriage, is my second book. And so when it came time to write a third book, I didn't really know what it was going to be. And initially it was going to be more, probably what Church's Small Things ended up being later. Like it was going to be kind of more my faith journey and growing up and stuff like that. But it was funny. I just couldn't get motivated. Like I had signed the contract to write that book, and I was like, I just am not feeling it. And I kept praying about it, and I was stuck. And I was like, I think I want to write about friendship, because what I had learned from doing the blog all those years, because at that point I'd been blogging probably almost 10 years. What I had learned is so many women were like, I want to know how to make female friends. How do you have these long-term, because I talk about Gully, who's been my lifelong best friend, well, since college, but that's 30 years now, And so I talked, and people were like, how do y'all maintain that friendship? Do y'all really never fight? It seems like y'all never get crossways. And I was like, so many women are craving female friendship, and we want those connections, and we don't know how. And so, Nobody's Cuter Than You just kind of was the journey of, kind of my life through female friendships and all the friendships that saved me. And it's funny to me, all the things that God did along the way, where I'm like, it was so apparent that was the book that I was supposed to write at that time. And it's been my best-selling book to this point, because I think so many women want to know about that. And there were just so many things that God put together in the course of writing that book that I had no idea were going to happen when I started writing that book. So
okay. I love the title, and I love the title in the context of friendship. And so why Nobody's Cuter Than You? Where did that come from?
Well, it came from, my best friend Gully, who we met in college. Originally, what I told my editor I wanted to call it was Chicken in the Bed. So that's the alternate title. And she said, I don't know that that's really going to have the mass appeal that we need it to have, but it came from that Gully and I in college, if one of us had a breakup or we were sad or whatever, we would go pick up Popeye's chicken and just be like, it's a day for chicken in the bed. Like whenever you're feeling kind of down and you need something to pick you up. And so even now we'll text each other and we're like, oh, it's a chicken in the bed kind of day. But that's not a saying that's going to like sweep the nation. And so, but the other thing we've always said to each other is when we are like, how you call your friend, you're like, I feel fat, I feel gross, I feel whatever. And we're like, no, nobody's cuter than you. So we've always told each other, you're the cutest, nobody's cuter than you. And so that just became the natural title of the book.
So precious. Do you want to hear something so funny too? I don't know what I thought Gully's name was. I honestly, here's what's so stupid. I don't think I ever thought.
Yeah.
What is her? I just thought her name was Gully.
I did too.
Yeah. I think a lot of people did.
And she's another one that if anybody's followed you for any length of time or followed your social media, like I feel like I know her too. Yeah. Everybody loves Gully.
Yeah. Yeah. She's a character. Yeah. She's a character.
Listen, y'all had more shenanigans and stories than any to people. And I literally, I thought last night, and I don't know if I texted Angela this or not. I thought, I just kind of wondered, can we just sit here and read the whole book out loud? Because it's just so fantastic. Okay. So friendship. Okay. So like, listen, we're not here at this day and time young anymore. You know,
No.
like here we are. We're older now. So what do you think it is now? If people, I mean, it's still a problem today. It's still hard to find and maintain friends in this crazy year called 2022. Why do you think that is? What is our greatest struggle right now as women in friendship?
I mean, I think right now, I think it's been a different thing, but it's been, to me, a steadily evolving thing. Because I think when you look back to when we were young moms, I just think so many moms, you work outside the home and life is busier. And I think that when our grandmothers were growing up, a lot of times you had a 1-car family. And so you really had to make your community with your neighbors and all those mamas that lived right there. And that's not really how people live anymore. And so I think you saw the beginning of that with our generation, where we were working and busy and doing stuff. And now I think with social media, I think so many people feel like they have a real community because you've got your friends you follow on Instagram.
Right.
But
so are you saying that we're really not friends then?
Yeah, I think it, I mean, here's the thing. I think your friends, I have people I love to follow and I feel so invested in them. And, I love them. And, I mean, Gelly and I'll call and talk about different ones and be like, did you see what happened today? But I think you've got to look at your life and go, but do I have real life people that I would call or that would show up if I'm going south, like that to me becomes the real hallmark of a friend. And I think that's hard because I think it requires vulnerability. And I think with women, and I can say this having a daughter who just graduated from high school, I think we have a mean girl epidemic. And I think that it is women, if we don't heal from that, I think we take that into our adulthood. And I think we don't trust other women. I think that we see other women as our competitors. I think we do the constant comparison. And I think all of those things sabotage real life community.
Oh, listen, we're doing exactly at 50 what we did when we were 15, 16, 17, nothing really changed.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And I felt like so many times with Caroline, when you would come across mean girls, you're like, well, she's got a mean mom, like we're passing it down. And you just got to look at the way I'm like, if we could commit to raising our girls better and showing them that like other women aren't your competitors, like there's enough room for all of us. But we have this thing where we think one woman's success means less success for us. And so we don't build each other up the way we should.
Well, and I think too, I mean, goodness gracious, I don't know if I remember asking my mom a long time ago, and my mother's in her early 80s. So at the time I asked her this, let's say she was pushing 70. And I was like, Mom, do we ever grow up out of this? The bad news was not really.
Yeah.
And I was like, what a shame though, because when you look at it from just a very simple concept and understanding of the Lord created us all. He created us all for purpose and to do good things and to bring honor and glory to him. And we're like clawing at each other like, that's not true. And it's just really sad. It's just really sad.
Yeah.
Does Caroline have good friends in college? Is she still in her freshman year?
Yeah, she's just a freshman. Yeah. Okay. So this is just her first year. So I will say high school was not, she just never really found her people in high school. I mean, she had people that were fine, but just never really found her people. And I kept saying to her, like, when you get to college, you're going to find your people. When you get to college, to the point that like when she left for college, I was like, dear Lord, I'm going to need this to be true because I've said it so many times. Like if she gets there and she doesn't find her people. But I have to say, like, she has just found the best people. Like she has really, and a lot of them came to stay with us over Christmas break for a couple of days. And it made me so happy because I was like, to see her with people who really know her and get her and love her. It's like, that's all I've ever wanted. And she's grown up watching Gully and me. So in her mind, she was like, I want to find my Gully. Like I want that person. And I'd always tell her, I was like, I didn't find my Gully until college, so you have to hang on. So, but she has now, but it did take getting to college for sure.
She's precious and we all love her.
Thank you. She's a sweet girl. She's
She
a
is
sweet girl.
That's
Mhm.
true. And Melanie, I mentioned to you earlier, my daughter went off to college just a few weeks after your daughter did. And
Mhm.
I love how publicly you walked that out, because you were my emotional health support.
Oh,
I didn't even know it. But we had a similar experience. And even one night, several of them were quarantined early on, and Kaylee was in the floor eating cold pizza, too afraid to go make new friends anywhere but her dorm room. And
yes.
I was just praying, please let this be true. And she's
Mhm.
found her people. And
Mhm.
it's so fulfilling as the mom when you pray
Yeah.
for that and see it happen. Um, one thing I really, really loved, I love looking back at college now that I see my daughter there.
Mhm.
And I loved reading about you and your friends. You had Jen and Tiff and Gully, and you talk so much in the book about so many shenanigans and all
Mhm.
your adventures and all the 80s references. It's like we were right back in college ourselves. And I love that. But one thing that and it sounds like, you and your daughter talked about this too. I always thought if I didn't have one best friend to just skip all the way through life with, I was failing at friendship.
Yeah.
And I've learned that friends come and go for seasons. Some, very few stick for longer, but seasons are such a scriptural thing. It's such a pattern that we see. I want you to just talk to us about how different friends come in for different seasons and they influence us, and they show us who we are and who we're becoming. Just talk to us a little bit about that.
I think, to me, I look back and I think that's when I was writing Nobody's Cuter. And it's been so long ago, but when you look and see, like, along the way, like even from childhood, like you kind of learn, your friends teach you about yourself. I mean, you look at the ones where you can look back and go, oh, I really failed as a friend to that person. Like I could have been better. And so I think that makes you better. But now that I'm in this stage of life, it's been funny because I think I had these moms that we did preschool together. Like our kids were great friends in preschool. And so they were my community. But then as your kids get older and things change and life is different, we just drifted apart and like nothing happened. It was just that God had put those people in my life for that season. And I think the same thing, but to me, one of the sweetest things that's happened is to see how life has now come full circle. And I'm closer than ever with so many of my friends from college because now we all have kids at A&M. So we're back in that, we're living our second college life, which nobody tells you about, where we're, at all the football games and we get to meet up and we all live in different cities, or a lot of us do. And so during the throes of raising like toddlers and, going to sporting things and all that stuff you do where you're so busy, we didn't stay in touch because we were all just living in our own little communities. But you just look at the ebb and flow of that. And I think that we have to be okay with sometimes people are in your life for a short amount of time and then they're gone. And it doesn't mean anything was wrong. It was just for that time. So, and I think you look back at what did I learn from them? How did they help me get through that time? Because I look at my preschool moms and I'm like, we needed each other because, at that point you're stressed. You're like, my kid's not stacking these blocks right. Is this okay? You're like, you need somebody who's going to, help you through all that stuff. Yeah.
What are some things that the Lord taught you through? Like maybe just pick an example of a friendship and maybe something really significant looking back through the book that the Lord taught you through that.
I mean, I think for me, when I look back and I talk about her in the book, and it was one of my high school friends, and I call her Becky in the book, and we had a falling out, and it was really painful. It was really hurtful. But I think one of the things that God really did in that was you can't allow, and I was able to, help Caroline with this later, is like, you can't allow a bad experience to shut you off. Like, I feel like I've talked to so many women who are like, well, I just don't trust women anymore. I just don't open myself up to female friendship. And I'm like, no, you just haven't found the right ones. Like, but you've got to, it's so crucial that you've got to keep putting yourself out there. Until you find the right one. And I think that was one of the things I learned is like, just one bad experience doesn't define friendship, and to give people grace, because now Becky and we've gotten back in touch and it's all better, but I'm like, we had to grow up and we were 17 and I don't want anybody to hold me to my 17-year-old self. So why am I going to hold somebody else to their 17-year-old self?
Ooh, that's the honest truth. And I
Mhm.
mean, good grief, we're all dumb as rocks. And
Well, yes.
just along the way, you're going to mess up. Nobody,
Yeah.
I don't want to say nobody, but most people don't wake up and say, I'm going to go ruin this friendship, or I'm going to go
for sure.
make their life miserable. I mean, it just, we're human beings and it just happens.
Yeah, for sure.
One question we do get a lot from women, though, is how do I find my people? How do I find friends? I'm new to the area, or I just can't connect with people. And do you have any just go-to advice when you're asked that question?
I mean, I think it's kind of like dating. I think you have to put yourself out there. I think you've got it. I mean, you can't sit in your house. Nobody's going to knock on your door and be like, here I am. I brought a bottle of wine and brownies. I'm your friend. Like that would be great, but that's not really how it works. So it's like, you kind of have to, and I think friendship is one of those things that I can meet a woman that I'm like, you're perfectly fine and you're lovely and you're nice, but I can just tell we're not going to completely click, and so I think it takes some time to find those people that you're going to really click with and bond and have the same, thoughts and all those things, the intangibles, the chemistry. But I think you've got to, join a book club, get in a Bible study, go to church, go to the grocery store and talk to somebody about why they're buying broccolini and what they're going to do with it. I think you've just got to put yourself out there. That's part of it.
Yeah. That's scary.
It's scary.
It is scary.
But persistence and patience, I think, are key. And we don't talk about that enough.
No. You hate to say it. Everybody knows this, but we really are meant for community. We really are. We know that logically, but by golly, sometimes you're like, I can't, I don't know how. I want to, especially the older we get, it's really hard. So I have so much empathy for people that, they do move to a brand new town in their 50s, where I'm just kind of like, if you are a Christian, please run to your nearest church now.
Yeah.
Yes, I want you to study and learn about the Lord, but you need people.
Yeah. Yeah. Get in a group, find start looking around, and just, we got to kiss a lot of frogs. It's like everything in life, you got to put yourself out there.
Okay, Melanie, I have another burning question. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
I read about it in the book, but I want you to tell us, I want to hear firsthand your Steven Tyler story.
Okay.
Listen,
let me just say, this was a chapter. I don't know what chapter it is in the book. I cried again. I think every chapter I cried, either happy tears or sad tears, but this was so awesome. I thought, I'm going to find the chapter. Could you just read this chapter to us? It's so great. Okay. Tell us, please, what happened.
So when I was a student at Texas A&M, and this is in the early 90s, I was a Diamond Darling, which is a bat girl for the baseball team. That's what we did. And, so that was really where my focus was in college, which is why I probably graduated while on scholastic probation. But the team made it to the College World Series. And so a big group, so Gully's stepdad, who we call Big now, he rented a van and he was like, I'll drive y'all to Omaha. He was like, we'll go.
A saint. He is a saint.
Listen, but he'll to this day tell you that was one of the most fun weeks he's ever had. He was one of the girls. He got to hear more than he probably ever wanted to know about our lives on the way to Omaha. So we drove, and when you drive from College Station, Texas to Omaha, Nebraska, I'm saying what nobody tells you is you get to Wichita and then there's nothing until you hit Omaha. It's nothing. Yeah. And so we made that trip, and you thinking this was 30 years ago. And so we made the trip. We were staying at, it was called it wasn't the Red Roof Inn. I don't know. It was some hotel, but anyway, apparently Aerosmith had been in concert there that night, which we didn't know. And so we roll in at 2 a.m. We get, we're in the hotel or whatever. And so Big, Gully's stepdad, he call him Big because he is big. He played football for A&M. He's a big old guy. And so he and I start to get onto an elevator, and it's just the two of us because we're loading stuff, taking stuff up to our room. We get on the elevator and I hear this voice go, because I'm laughing. And he goes, I hear a voice say, ooh, a giggling girl. Nothing I like better than that. And I turn and look, and there's the smallest little person I've ever seen wearing purple zebra pants, with the hair and the lips. It's unmistakable, and this is right after, it was Walk This Way with Run DMC and Aerosmith. That had been a big song. So it was the whole thing. And you immediately were like, oh my gosh. And so in Big, I'm going to tell you, stared him down because Big did not know who he was and was just like, who is this person that's flirting with this teenage girl? This is not appropriate. And Steven Tyler got real quiet and was like, what floor do you need, sir? I mean, he immediately shut down. But to this day, I say my biggest regret was that I was in an elevator with Steven Tyler and I didn't sing Love in an Elevator. And, regrets.
Okay, this is what you say. I found it.
Okay, all right. I don't even remember what I said.
Well, I circled the page and things that I just love so much. I underlined, circled all things. And just here's your fun fact, Melanie. The name of that hotel, I just
was it? Okay.
It was the Red Lion Hotel.
Okay, I knew it was Red something. That's right, Red Lion. The Red Lion.
That doesn't sound creepy or anything.
No. Especially not when you have a lot of Aerosmith groupies hanging out in the lobby. There were a lot of spike dog collars, I'm going to say.
Oh, and then I also find it a little interesting. That's what he said to you in the elevator.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that.
No.
Okay. So this is what you say about Steven Tyler, which I just thought, dang, this is your ability to remember things is just insane. You said, this is a list. You have a list of 6 things.
Oh,
this is number 3. He said, Steven Tyler wears jeans that are smaller than the Lovitz with the embroidered ice cream cone on the pocket that I wore in the 4th grade. I swear we all had them.
They were the best.
A solid 85 pounds top.
Yeah, so true. He was the tiniest little human. He was the tiniest person.
Did he still, he had all that hair?
He had all the hair. But he was
90
small.
years old now. Is he still alive?
He's got to be. One of my favorite memes on the internet is when it's Steven Tyler and they're like, this is a soccer mom going through some SH, but that's because that's what he looks like. Or the one that's like, this was the cool mom that let all the kids drink at her house. Like that's,
Yes.
Because he's got that real, he looks like a nice preserved 76-year-old woman.
Oh, she's
well, needless to say, your storytelling is so hilarious, brilliant. You've got all these references that just take us right back. You talk about cheerleading and sneaking out to the SIGET party. Let me say, I have a cheerleading fail story that haunts me to this day. So I appreciated that. Tell us just a little bit about that time in your life and the
cheerleading or the SIGET party or both?
The SIGET party.
Pick one. The SIGET party. I think we need to talk about.
The SIGET party.
The cheerleading.
That was really something. So my best friend from high school, I was not really the best behaved kid. I would say high school was the beginning of my rebellious period that lasted for a while. But her parents were out of town, and this was the summer. It was the summer right before our senior year of high school, and her parents were out of town, and we had begged and begged and begged for them to let us stay at the house by ourselves. We're like, we're fine. We'll be so good. Please let us stay. And her mom agreed. And so we stayed at the house. And so my mom's job was supposed to be, she was going to call and check in on us occasionally and whatever. But I was like, we're just going to go over there. We're going to hang out, nothing, just have some girls over. It'll be no big deal. Well, that's exactly what we did until 10 o'clock at night when we decided to head out to the SIGET party, because this was in Beaumont, Texas. And there's a college there called Lamar. And so we knew all these college boys. And there was one in particular that I had a huge crush on, and I knew he was going to be there. And so we thought in that way, because, you used to be able to do this because we didn't have cell phones. Right. So we just thought we'll take the phone off the hook. If my mom calls, she'll just think that the line is busy and we're on the phone. So no problem. And we got all dolled up, went out to the SIGET party. It was every bit the success that we hoped it would be. And so we had so much fun that we decided, let's invite the entire SIGET party back to my friend's house.
Brilliant idea.
Why on earth? I mean, what more do you want than 100 drunk college kids at a house? I mean, what could possibly go wrong?
Perfect.
And so we did. And so I jumped in the convertible Mustang that the crush had. And so I'm driving back with him. This is about to be the best night of my whole life because we are just flirting and having the best time. And my best friend had beat me home. And like, as my crush and I pull up in his car, she comes running out of the house. And we always say it was Paul Revere. And she was like, your mom is coming. Your mom is coming. And so apparently as soon as she got home, she hung up the phone rang, and it was my mom saying, "Where are you? And what are you doing? I'm on my way over."
Oh, the
And
worst.
she said, she was like, "Where is Melanie?" And she said she ran to the store to get some root beer because we wanted to make root beer floats. It's 1 a.m. in Beaumont, Texas. There wasn't a store open. You're not getting root beer anywhere. It was the
Maybe
worst
some
excuse.
beer float.
Yes, that's exactly. Minus
think
the root.
Minus the root.
Mhm.
Yes, maybe
Mhm.
that was more like it.
Yes. So my mom pulls up, and she's in her Honda Accord and we're all trying to scrub our makeup off. We're trying to like get back in our sweats so we look like we've been home. My mom pulls up with my grandmother in the car and my little sister in the car, who is delighted that this is going down. A younger sibling likes nothing more than to see an older sibling burn. And that's what's about to happen. Pulls up in the driveway. And right as I'm trying to deny it, I'm like, "We've been here. It's fine. We just went to whatever." This whole caravan of cars, you see these headlights, and they all start to pull down the street, which was not a street that was highly trafficked.
Nothing to see here.
No, nothing. And then as I'm still trying to, and I'm like, "I don't know why they're showing up, Mom. I don't know what's going on." One of the boys comes walking up the driveway with a half empty bottle of Jim Beam or something, and he's throwing up. And I'm just going to say that that's why I spent the first month of my senior year grounded. So it's the most trouble I've ever been in to this day.
A multi-generational bust.
Yes, it was. When your grandmother shows up to bust you, you're in trouble. That's bad news.
Listen, as you're telling the story, I'm telling you, I had all these pages underlined because it was maybe one of my favorite stories ever. Outside of the silly stuff, like some story where the 7-Eleven guy, not 7-Eleven, but the cashier got Goalie's phone number from a check.
She wrote for a big gulp for like $1.19. Like that was.
And the time that Gully got busted at the ball game because she was on TV. Which game was that?
That was Omaha. That was when we went to Omaha. So Gully's dad, because the stepdad is the one that drove us. And
That's
so Gully and I dropped out of summer school to go to the College World Series because we're like, it's the College World Series. Why are we going to go to summer school? So we dropped out, and her dad had forbid her and was like, "You absolutely are not going. This is not going to happen." We were like, "It's fine. We're going anyway." And sure enough, she was on ESPN just blowing a big old bubble sitting outside that dugout.
Okay. Every mother is dying to know. Because as your children grow up and you have all these stories to tell, you're like, when did you tell Caroline? When did Caroline come into the know of, so this was my mother's life as a high school and college student.
Yeah. I think it's funny because I would tell her, and I think she knows some, but she's never read Nobody's Cuter. Like she doesn't, you know what I mean? So like she doesn't know everything.
Yeah.
And so I think she knows enough that she hints at it, but I think Caroline is so much like her dad, where she's just so reasonable and sensible.
You're not worried about it then.
I'm not. And she's like, "Mom, you were just ridiculous. Like you were just ridiculous." And I'm like, I was like, I really was.
This is what my boys say. They'll say, "Mom has a great testimony." And you're like, yeah, we all know what that means.
Yeah.
Well,
that's pretty much it.
And I love the fact that you talk about your relationship with the Lord and how you came to know him in a very real way in your college years. But after the fact, you remain a very fun person because Christians are not boring.
Yeah.
Or shouldn't have to be. Thank you very much. We're so glad. I love the part where and we call it rolling, where you roll the yard as an adult.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm not to that.
Fran will
should know that. Yeah.
The shenanigans continue. So all of our listeners, bottom line is go get this book. You will laugh. You will cry. You will laugh and cry.
It's just honestly the best. Did I hear you say that this is a book either, I don't know if you've done it, suggest it. I now highly suggest this is a great book to give bridesmaids.
Yeah, I have had so many people, like, it's funny to me because I never thought about it like that, but I had so many girls, especially right after it came out, and still I'll get where they're like, "I want to give this book to all 6 of my bridesmaids," and they'll send them to me to sign and personalize. But I think that's such a cute, because it's such a, like, it's full of my stories, but I think anybody who's had girlfriends and that whole thing, it just brings back so many memories, you
Yeah.
know, and I love now, like I can be places and somebody will introduce me to their best friend and they're like, this is my Gully, you know, and
Oh,
yeah. And Gully loves that people like, she's like a noun now, you know, where it's like people refer to her as like, this is my Gully. And we always laugh because like you are saying our personalities, Gully is by far the more extroverted of the two of us. Like she's just never met a stranger, super outgoing. And so we laugh because if we're somewhere, I always feel I love when people come up to me, but it just makes me feel sometimes like uncomfortable. And we laugh because Gully, like if somebody like looks at her twice at Nordstrom, like she'll be like, yeah, it's me. I'm Gully. Like she's like,
It's me.
I can tell you're wondering. It's me.
oh, that's so awesome. That's so awesome.
That's so good.
Okay. So as we wrap up we've got to talk about some things that are near and dear to my nearly 52-year-old heart.
Okay.
So, number one, what spring fashion trends do you see on the horizon that we must have?
You know, this is really hard because I'm going to be honest. I was actually
Okay.
just talking to my hairdresser about this. I don't really love all the trends right
Oh,
now.
Oh no.
I think it's really hard because I think it's all the little little shrunken sweaters and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's great if you're 20, but
Mhm.
I'm not. And so I'm not interested in your crop top, you know, like I'm not, I've done the jeans that come
Yeah.
super high.
Yeah.
But I do think one of my favorites is I think we're getting back to, and it's kind of been since the fall, but the wide leg pants and the
Yes.
flare jeans.
Love it.
And we're back to that, which I
Yeah.
just think is such a good universally flattering trend.
Yeah.
So I would say just embrace that. Like find yourself a good pair of flares. They look great on everybody. Wear them with heels and they're a must. So that would be my biggest one.
What did you think about Target when they went down that Little House on the Prairie?
It was tragic. I mean, it was
awful.
It was awful. It was the whole thing of, and you know, we did that, you know, like that was, you know, like we've done that. I mean, I spent my whole high school thing wearing sailor dresses that I thought were good and Laura Ashley florals.
Oh God. Yeah.
And
She's
so I'm not
so
interested. Yeah. I'm not interested in doing that. No,
I think it's horrendous looking.
It's awful. And it doesn't look good on anybody. That's the whole thing.
It is. It's awful. I'm sorry for people that have it and love it and wear it.
Yeah.
I hope you love it. Okay. Skincare.
Yes.
Like, how much time do you spend like researching? Do you just love to just like, how do you do all this when you're talking about, you love to Google and search and all the things?
I do. Yeah. It's like my hobby. It's like, I love, in fact, it was funny because I was texting with somebody this week and I was like, I really feel like it's one of my spiritual giftings. And I know that's not in the Bible, but I love it so much. Like
we're going to call it discernment. We're going to call it discernment.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
So, no, I think for me, that's one of the things, Instagram, because I have like some beauty people that I follow. Like I think Kathleen Jennings Beauty is like a must follow. Kathleen Jennings Beauty on Instagram, because, you know, now there's so many people that will research products for you.
Yeah.
And so I can kind of just see like, is this going to meet my needs? You know, is this what I need? But Jamie Golden was another one. Like she used to do a lot of skincare stuff and doesn't as much anymore, but like that helps me narrow down like what I want. But I really don't spend that much time. Like once you get in a routine, and I'm like, it's your face. Like, you've got to take care of it. And it's like, I always tell Perry, I'm like, you don't want to be married to an old hag. So I'm trying to help you out.
And I appreciate it. I, for one, am so very thankful because I cannot tell you, since this all kind of started, I've always had skincare, some products, all the things. I've always done that. But here lately, I have been standing in Target, Googling best vitamin C for mature skin.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, I don't know. They don't have this at Target. Anyway, it's very overwhelming. And so then we realized, oh, ding, 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 ding. You and Sophie have your Amazon shop. So how can people find because that's kind of I don't want to say a new thing, but
it's pretty new.
How do people, if they're on Amazon, how do they find you guys?
That's a great question, Fran. And I don't have an answer for you. I don't know how you find us through Amazon, but if you go to in my bio of my Instagram, there's a link tree and I keep a link there that says Big Boo Amazon shop. And so you can always click on that. And then we try to keep it updated and we try to have it divided by categories. So it makes it easier to find the different stuff.
Yes.
So that's kind of where that is. And you can find everything we talk about.
Because I did that. And like I said, I purchased the Charlotte Tilbury what's it called? Magic
cream. And it is magic. It's
I
magic.
can't wait.
And
I will
so,
give you an update.
okay. All right. You'll have to let me know. It is so good. Yeah.
Okay. Last thing, serious question. What is it? I mean, you're a busy person. You're doing a lot of things.
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes.
Not so much right now, but
Not so much right now. You did send Caroline back off to school.
Yes. Yeah. She
was
left.
that sad? Were you okay? Did you cry?
I did cry. Yeah. And it kind of, because the last week she was home, Sophie was laughing at me because the last week she was home, I would call Sophie and I'd be like, it's time for her to go.
Yeah.
We have done all the things. We've had all the special memories. We've had all the special dinners. I'm broke. We've gotten her highlights. We've done a Brazilian blowout. We've bought all new beauty products. Like I'm out of money. Like it's time for her to go back. So I was kind of like surprised that when she went to pack up Saturday, I could feel it. And I was like, oh, I'm going to cry. Like it just, in some ways it was almost more sad than when she left in the fall.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because when she comes back home, it was like, we get back into our normal routine so quick.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, and now she's leaving again.
So,
yeah.
Are you writing a new book?
I'm not yet, but I think I'm about to start. So after my last book, which was called On the Bright Side, came out the week before the world shut down for Corona. And so that kind of scarred me in terms of like,
yeah, right.
That was a lot of work for a book that really.
So if people don't want to order Nobody's Cuter Than You, they need to go order that.
Go get On the Bright Side. It's really good. It's been read by at least 6 people. And so go get that book. But but it's because I'm like, so a book called On the Bright Side, right when we're hitting a pandemic, like, Lord, what a sense of humor you have, God. That's hilarious. So anyway, yes, I do think that I will start writing a new book this year, but the way the publishing world works, that means that you'll be able to read that book in 2025, if I had to guess.
Right. So. Yeah, for real. Well, bravo to you, because we're so thankful. I love when people ask me for something that's light, but yet meaningful, and you don't have to like think really hard, because we all don't have a whole lot of brain power since the infamous 2020. I always recommend anything that you've written. So I'm glad that you're writing something new. Okay. So what's saving your life right now? Caroline's gone. What's saving Melanie Shankle's life right now?
I think, like, on a serious note, and it's funny because this is, the theme of this podcast, but I mean, really my friends. I mean, I am so thankful for just my old friends, because we're all in the same season of life together right now. And so I think it's so good. You just need friends that are in the same season of life. And I love having older friends and I love having younger friends, but to me, it's my old friends, where we're all navigating this together, all the feelings, and how you have an adult child and how you let them go and how you deal with all the fear that comes with that. And that really is saving my life. I'm so thankful for my friends right now, and for those friendships.
Has Goalie ever been on the podcast?
Sophie and I had her on our Patreon. So not on the regular episode, but we had her, she did a 2-episode series, I think, and she'll need to come back on because she was a favorite. So
y'all need to also, whenever you do another live, you need to have her there as a special guest.
She came. So we did a live show in Brenham, and she was there. Okay. And we had so much fun with her that we're like, we'll never do a live show without her again. So Gully will for sure she'll go on the road with us whenever we eventually do that. So
that's so fun. That's so fun.
Love it.
Okay. Don't go anywhere. Okay. We want to chat with you after we hit stop recording, but this was so much fun. Thank you for encouraging people, no matter their age, their history, their situation. We need each other, and we need good, solid friends, and they're out there.
Yeah. They are. You just have to look for them.
You just have to look.
Yeah.
Okay.
We love you for having me. I love y'all. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Have a great
rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Okay, everybody. Thanks for listening. This has been so much fun, Angela Snyder.
So good. Loved
I want to be Melanie Shankle's best friend. I want to be a goalie. You're my goalie.
She has a goalie. Well, you'll have to be her friend.
I'll just be her friend. Nobody's cuter than you, Melanie Shankle. Nobody's cuter than you.
Oh, nobody's cuter than y'all.
Precious. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.